Ag Week Weather is sponsored by Bremer Bank. Connect with a banker today at bremer.com.
Is this heat here to stay? Here's our Agri-weather outlook.
I'm meteorologist Jared Piepenburg, and the outlook here as we continue over the next couple of weeks, looking pretty similar. We've had some heat in place over the northern plains and upper Midwest, and looks like more of that will be in store for us here across the northern plains and upper Midwest as well. Parts of the Midwest may stay a little drier. Looking across the Great Lakes area, parts of Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin potentially will end up staying drier, where as you look off toward the west, potentially the western Dakotas could end up having some more wet weather in the lee of the Rockies. So that may be kind of our pattern that'll be setting up over the next week and a half or so. Checking out the U.S. Drought Monitor, still very dry conditions in the central plains. Up in the northern plains and upper Midwest, we do have some areas that are still dry with the moderate drought conditions down in southeastern parts of Iowa southwestern Iowa and southeastern parts of South Dakota. Otherwise, a large chunk of North Dakota right now not in the Drought Monitor. All right, upper level flow pattern jumping way in the upper atmosphere. We've had this ridge in place with the East Coast dealing with some precipitation here in the northern plains. Looks like more of the same, and that really looks like it might be the theme here. Later on next week, dip in the upper atmosphere across the Rockies may bring some wet weather across kind of the western half of the lower 48, which may produce some showers and thunderstorms in the lee of the Rockies, which may end up with some wet weather the western side of the Dakota. So let's talk about precipitation outlook here. This is the 6 to 10 day outlook across the Rockies, looking a little wetter generally, but as I mentioned, across parts of the northern plains, upper Midwest, as you head off toward the east, the Great Lakes area may just have a little drier conditions, where the western Dakotas will be seeing a little better shot of having some precipitation over the next week and a half. Now, the temperature outlook, more heat. That upper level ridge that's in place, looks like we're going to be talking more upper 80s to 90s across parts of the region. Look at even bullseyes parts of our area here for South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin here in that 6 to 10 day outlook. So looking like above average temperatures, which we've had here over the past couple of weeks. Temperature outlook for next week, so we're getting kind of that 8 to 14 day outlook here. Still hot through most of the plains, where it will be a little bit cooler off toward the west, and still staying a little bit warmer as you even head east of the Great Lakes area. And just a closer view of home here, we'll be kind of right on that edge, and most likely just staying pretty warm for the month of June. Precipitation outlook for next week, staying wet off toward the west, kind of equal chances of what we call the gray shaded area, which kind of covers a big chunk of Minnesota, central parts of the plains, and the western parts of the Dakotas, maybe right on the edge of still seeing some of that precipitation filtering into the area. Precipitation outlook for the whole month of June, a little better shot of having those drier conditions just east of that ridge, which would be kind of across the Great Lakes area, parts of the northern plains and upper Midwest, with some wet weather just to our south and west. Temperature outlook, though, it does look warm, and that may linger around here and hold pretty strong for the month of June. And notice it does include both Dakotas and Minnesota.